All right. Thank you guys for jumping on. Just give me about 5 seconds here. Share my screen. All righty. So thank you guys for coming to the webinar. Um, Sometimes I do move quickly in order to keep these short and sweet, but I am recording this and we'll send it to everyone who's registered so you guys can go back and re-listen to things and look at things. So don't worry if I move a little quickly. So today we're going to look at how to plan your workflow in green folders. Obviously, things have calmed down a little bit since the past couple years have been a little crazy, even the beginning of this year, but it's slowed down a little bit. So it's really the perfect time to look at your workflow and see what improvements we can make. Okay, this will be especially helpful when things pick back up. They always do. And it's really nice to have something in place that you can scale from. Really easy if you have those systems already in place. So, in order to plan your workflow, it's very important to know what features and tools are available to you. I'll be including some links to some walkthroughs in our knowledge base, as well as a link to schedule a demo of our other tools that integrate with green folders. I strongly encourage you to schedule a demo so that you can at least see what tools are available. The more you know, the more tools that you're aware of, the easier it is to decide whether you want to include those in your workflow, whether that's going to be helpful to you or not. So now it's time to determine what your current workflow is. So I made a little chart here, and I split it up into good workflow, better workflow, and best workflow. So as you can see, the good workflow just has three kind of basic things most people are using. Maybe you're missing one. A good workflow includes task templates, and those task templates should be triggering things to happen, right? If you complete a task, it's going to create another task, or it's going to create another task and change your folder status, and maybe even send a message to some of the parties that are in that transaction. It also includes having predefined names for your attachments. Most people do have those predefined names. That is a default that we have for everyone. A lot of people, though, I've seen they don't know that those can trigger things. If I order my title commitment, the title commitment comes in, I drag it into green folders, that can complete a task. That can send a confirmation letter to my sellers and buyers and my, their agents. Okay. Also using custom annotations. That's those stamps that are in the attachment section. So the better workflow, moving over to the right, the better workflow includes those three items, but we also add message templates. And a message template we went over a few months ago in a webinar. And like I said, I'll include these links in the follow-up email. You can set up those message templates to pull information from your folders. So I could say, Dear Buyer One, and for every folder that every message I send out of various folders, it's going to just pull in that buyer name or the buyer agent's name and the property address, things like that. So those are included in the better workflow. Also included in the better workflow is a customer web portal. We have a tool called Portal Sync. A lot of agents, a lot of people kind of expect a website, a web portal that you can communicate with them. And this one, Portal Sync, links up to Green Folders, so it's really cool. The best workflow includes all of what I've already talked about, plus a secure link tool and a customer feedback tool. So those are things that just enhance the customer's experience, really makes you look really good to your customers. So those are the three that I've kind of split up workflows into. So decide where you're at. If you're at the good workflow, great. If you're missing a few things, you're not quite there, pick one. Just pick something that you want to add to your workflow. If you're almost to the better workflow, but you're missing something, just pick one. I'm a big fan of baby steps. Doing too much can really cause a lot of stress for your office. So I've learned that just by doing one or maybe two minor things to implement into your workflow, it's so much easier. And just do one little thing at a time until you've gone to that next level. So one other tool that I've noticed people weren't aware of, I believe I went over this a few webinars ago, are the drop downs. So not every transaction has, mortgage payoffs. Not every transaction's an HOA. Not every property is part of that. Maybe I don't want my tasks to always have an HOA because only 30% of my transactions are actually HOA. So what we can actually do is, and this is just for your knowledge, like I said, the more tools you have, the better it is for you to make decisions to enhance your workflow. So I currently have one task, which is order title. If I say, hey, I do have a payoff, I'm going to say yes. Well, now I have that second task that automatically creates. Let's say it is an HOA. It's going to have a third task that comes in so that every transaction you do isn't automatically just going to throw in, hey, payoff 1 and 2, HOA's got liens. You can actually tie it to your forms. So that's another cool tool um, to have. So I've made a simple example configuration, kind of a form that you can fill out to get you started with the plan. Let me pull that up. And I'm going to be sending a copy of this to you so that you can see. Okay. First things first, you always want to have your attachment types, your predefined names. So I kind of have our default here. Okay. And then you can pull, cherry pick the ones you like, add ones that aren't here, take away ones that you don't really use, that you don't find useful, and make up your desired configuration for attachment types. Down here, we have folder statuses, right? These are just default. A lot of you, this is already set up probably the way that you want. You may not be changing any of these. That's fine. And then down here is where I have my example configuration. So I have my task templates. Okay, what are my tasks? Now this is kind of a smaller list. A lot of you have a lot more than just 13 tasks. But so my first one, order title commitment. Well, what triggers this task? This task is actually automatically created with every new folder. We always order a title commitment, right? What completes this task? Well, this one's manually checked off. You're actually going to go into your home screen on your tasks tab and check that off, or you're going to go into the folder and check that off. So when this task is complete, what should happen? For example, task 8 is created, folder status changes. So I have listed everything that I want to happen when this task is complete. So task 2 is created. Welcome intro email is sent to the buyer, seller agents. Okay. And I just have a little timeline or a flow of how I want things to work. This gets everything on paper. This gets everything written down. You can, as you go through it, you may go back and say, hey, you know what? I want something in between 5 and 6. I want something else here. It's really an easy way to lay out your workflow, because planning the workflow is the hardest part. That's the heavy lift. Implementing the workflow in green folders is very simple. We are going to have a webinar on, the next step on how to implement these things, how to set them up. Um, so this I'm going to send to you. Take advantage of this. Make your configuration the way you want it to be. Um, Things that you've learned today, maybe you didn't know that messages can automatically be sent out. Maybe you didn't know that those drop down combo boxes on the forms can create tasks. All of these are meant to save you time. Okay, and that's the big thing. Know what tools are available. I'm also going to include, I think I mentioned, I'm going to include a link to schedule a demo so that you can see what tools are available to you. If you don't know what's available, you can't make an informed, educated decision on whether that's going to be helpful to you in your office or not. So those are some of the items I'm going to be sending with you. Again, thank you for coming to this webinar. I hope it was helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. I'm more than happy to, remote connect in, go over some things with you, answer any questions, give you some help if you need some extra help. I'm more than happy to do that. So feel free to reach out whenever. I'm always happy to do that. I will be sending out invitations for the next webinar here within the next few weeks. So again, thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.